اهلا بيكم في كايرو دار. النهارده هنتكلم عن reproduction in human beings. احنا نعرف ان reproduction takes place by gametes, male gametes that formed inside the testes of the human male, but the female gamete formed inside the ovary of the human female. But the ovum that formed by the human female, which act as a female gamete, is very small and it's nearly devoid of yolk. It doesn't need the presence of food stored inside it because the embryo get the nutritive substance from the mother's placenta directly. مش محتاج يبقى فيه يوك اللي هو الصفار بتاع البيض ده كتير، علشان هو مش محتاج يخزن فود، بياخد فود من المذر على طول. The man show high degree of care, so the parental care in the human being that act as the factors that affect the capacity of reproduction, so the rate of reproduction in human being is lower than that of the other living organisms or other many living organisms. What about the structure of the male reproductive system? The male reproductive system is that responsible for the formation of male gametes and also the male hormones that responsible for the appearance of the male secondary sexual character. The male reproductive system consists of two testes, and each of them leads to a certain coiled tubule that's called the epididymis, and that connected with the tube that's called the vas deferens, which leads to the urethra or the urinogenital duct. But the male reproductive system containing many accessory glands as a seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and Cooper's glands. What about the structure of the two testes of the human being? The testes lie outside the body in the scrotal sac, which is called the scrotum, where the temperature of the scrotum lower than the body temperature. The human body temperature 37 degrees Celsius, but the inside the testes about 34 Celsius, that act as a temperature lower than the temperature that to facilitate or to help the testes to produce the sperms. In the embryonic stages of the human male, the testes descend down into the scrotal sac during the last months of the pregnancy. Such a position prepare the presence of conditions contain the temperature lower than the body temperature. But if the testes get inside the body or is still inside the body without descending inside the scrotal sac, that may lead to sterility or infertility of the human being. The importance of the human testes. The human testes responsible for the formation of the male gametes, which are called the sperms, and also responsible for the formation of male hormones that responsible for the appearance of the male secondary sexual characters. The two epididymis, each testes that leads to a group of the cumulative tubule or accumulated tubes that called the epididymis, which store the sperms and leads to the vas deferens. The two vas deferens transport the sperms from the epididymis to the urethra or to the urinogenital duct. But the two seminal vesicles are responsible for the secretion of alkaline substance to neutralize the acidic urinogenital duct, and also responsible for the secretion of nutritive substance containing fructose that to feed the sperms. The prostate glands, which act prostate gland, Cooper's glands, the seminal vesicles that act as accessory glands. The Cooper's glands and the prostate glands, they secrete the sugary fluid with the alkaline substance and the viscous substance that to feed the sperms and neutralize the acidic urinogenital duct, and also facilitates the movement of or the formation of fluids that helps the sperms to swim to reach or to get out from the human male during the ejaculation. The urethra or the urinogenital duct pass through depends of the human reproductive system. It consists of the fiber tissue through which the urethra pass through it. Each of the urine and the sperms get out from the urinogenital duct independently of the other. That means the production or the passage of the urine get out during the urination process, but the passage of the sperm that takes place during the ejaculation. What about the function of the human male reproductive system? The human male reproductive system is a function of the testes, which act as the main organ of the male reproductive system. It is the production of sperms and also the secretion of male hormones that are responsible for the appearance of the secondary sexual character. The male secondary sexual character as that of the voice become deep or rough voice, and also the muscles grow stronger than that before, and also the growth of the facial hair, that the presence of the hair in the at that of the beard and the mustache, or the hair that located on the face, that act as a part of the male secondary sexual character. But what about the studying of transverse section in the human TS? The testis is built of the seminiferous tubules, a great number of tubules inside the testis, each is called the seminiferous tubule. Between the seminiferous tubules, the presence of great number of interstitial cells. The interstitial cells are responsible for the formation of the male hormones, as the testosterone, androsterone, or the androgens that are responsible for the appearance of the male secondary sexual character. But inside the seminiferous tubules, that's the presence of great number of cells. The outer part containing the cells which are called the sporangia. That's the spermatogonia. The spermatogonia at the cells or diploid cells. It grows to form the first spermatocytes, and the meiosis division, or the first meiosis division, change the first spermatocyte into the secondary spermatocyte. The meiosis 2 change the secondary spermatocyte into spermatids. After that, the spermatids change from the oval shape of the cell into the shape of the sperm, which is called the metamorphosis. So that's act as the last stage that to form the sperms. But there is the presence of a number of Sertoli cells inside the seminiferous tubules. The Sertoli cells are responsible for the formation of the food that feed the sperms, and also the Sertoli cells have an immunization function, or get immunization of the sperms to protect the sperms against any of the infection. That is the TS inside the seminiferous tubules that form the human testes. But what about the phases of the spermatogenesis? Spermatogenesis means the formation of sperms inside the human body. The spermatogenesis takes place by 4 stages. The first stage is called the multiplication stage. In the multiplication stage, the primary germ cells that located inside the seminiferous tubules divided many times by mitosis division to produce great number of cells, each is called spermatogonia. يبقى في الأول أنا عندي cells اسمها primary germ cells، دي بتبقى 2n، عايزين نكترها عشان جزء منها هيتحول للسبرمز، يبقى نكترها دي بنسميها multiplication phase، وده ما بيحصلش غير بالميتوزس، علشان عايز سيلز similar to the mother cells تبقى قدام علشان دي هتتحول لسبرمز. بعد البرايمري germ cells which takes place by mitosis division, the spermatogonia that formed as a result of the first stage, which is called the multiplication phase. The second phase is the growth phase. The growth phase is the change the spermatogonia into primary spermatocyte by storing a great amount of food inside the cell. يبقى هتخزن فود كتير، تكبر، بعد ما كانت اسمها سبرماتوجونيا تكبر تبقى اسمها primary spermatocyte. The third stage of the parthenogenesis is called the maturation. Maturation means the meiosis 1 and the meiosis 2, or meiosis division. Meiosis 1, it changed the primary spermatocytes into secondary spermatocyte 1n. The secondary spermatocyte passed through the meiosis 2 to change into spermatids. The spermatids pass through the 4th stage, which is called the metamorphosis, that to change the shape of the spermatid into the shape of the sperm. يبقى بدينا بspore mother cell سبورما زي السرعة عملت ديفيجن كتير بالميتوزس، عملت لي حاجة اسمها سبرماتوجونيا. سبرماتوجونيا اللي تكبر فيها وتعمل جرث يبقى اسمها برايمري سبرماتوسايت. برايمري سبرماتوسايت اللي لما تعمل ميوزس 1 تحول لي ال 2N ل 1N اسميها سكندري سبرماتوسايت. سكندري سبرماتوسايت تعمل ميوزس 2 تتحول لسبرماتيدز. السبرماتيدز لازم تمشي تتشكل بقى، تعمل ميتامورفوزس يعني مرحله التشكل، وبالتالي تتحول من سبرماتيد لسبرمس بالاستراكشر اللي هندرسه بتاع السبرمس. اما نيجي نشوف السبرمس consists of head, neck, midpiece and the tail. The head containing the nucleus which carries the genetic material of the male that transfer from the father to the offspring. But the head also containing the certain part which is called the acrosome. The acrosome responsible for the formation of certain very important enzyme which is called the hyaluronase enzyme. The hyaluronase enzyme is an enzyme responsible for dissolving the hyaluronic acid that help the attach the coat around the mature ova. The mature ova surround itself with the thick coat of cells. The coat of cells adhere with the ovum by the hyaluronic acid. But the hyaluronase enzyme which is dissolved from the acrosome that dissolve the hyaluronic acid and remove the coat around the ovum. يبقى عشان يحصل penetration by the sperm to the ovum لازم نحتاج نشيل الكوت. الكوت ده ملزوق بهيالورونيك acid. اللي بيشيل هيالورونيك acid ده sufficient amount of hyaluronase enzyme، والhyaluronase enzyme is secreted from the acrosome. So we need huge number of sperms to produce sufficient amount of hyaluronase enzyme to dissolve part of the coat around the ovum that to facilitate the penetration of the ovum by male gamete or by the sperm. The neck containing the two centrioles which help in the division of the centrioles. You remember that the head and the neck are the two parts that get inside the ovum during fertilization. The head containing the genetic material inside the nucleus, but the neck containing the centrioles which help the ovum to develop to change into embryo. So the centrioles are very important for the division of the fertilized ovum. The midpiece containing mitochondria, and the mitochondria act as a center of energy production because it releases the amount of energy that needed by the sperm to swim to reach the ovum. The tail or the caudal piece, it consists of the axis which end with the caudal piece that help the sperm to move to reach the ovum. What about the function of the human male genital system? The human male genital system responsible for the production of the mature ova, that in the case of the female reproductive system, the production of the female hormones as estrogen, progesterone, and many female hormones, and also provide the safe place for the fertilization, which act as the internal fertilization that takes place inside the female body, and also provide the safe place for the embryo development till birth. يبقى الميل reproductive system كان بيعمل جاميتس ويعمل هرمونز بس، لكن الفيميل بيعمل جاميتس ويعمل هرمونز ويحصل فيه fertilization وكيب أو protect the fetus during the embryonic stages. During the childhood, each ovary containing huge number of thousands of the ova, but the number of ova decreased to be 400 only during the maturation or the mature stage. يبقى بيبقى عندنا thousands of ova inside the two ovaries, but the number of cells may die and degenerates, but it's about 400 still inside the ovaries during the maturation. But if one of the 400 ova get out each 28 days, that means the number of ova will decrease to consumed, or all the ovum will get out from the ovary. When the ovaries become empty, there is no ova inside it, that leads to a certain stage which is called the menopause stage. The ovaries are attached to the pelvic part of the human female by a great number of the ligaments and the tendons that help the female reproductive system to grow during the presence of the fetus or during the pregnancy stage. The organs of this system act containing the elastic fibers and the elastic muscles that help the size of the uterus to grow during the presence of the fetus. The pelvic region is expansion during the pregnancy set to facilitate the growth of the embryo inside the ovary. What about the structure of the female reproductive system? The female reproductive system consists of 2 ovaries, 2 oviducts which are called the fallopian tubes, and also the uterus which leads or end with the cervix which leads to the vagina. The 2 ovaries, each ovary had the oval shape structure in the form of almond petaled or petaled almond، يعني قد وشكل اللوزة المقشرة كده، وبالتالي ده كان الشكل والحجم بتاعها. They lie in the 2 sides of the pelvis or in the pelvic cavity. The ovary is responsible for the production of ova. The mature ova get inside the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tube supplied with the finger-like protrusion for picking the mature ova and containing cilia inside the fallopian tube to facilitate the movement of the ovum inside the fallopian tube and to direct the mature ova or the zygote after the fertilization to get inside the uterus to continue the pregnancy state. Each fallopian tube provides with the finger-like protrusions and also the cilia that for picking the mature ova and allow it to pass through the fallopian tube to get inside the uterus. What about the uterus? The uterus acts as an elastic muscular sac like organ and that get inside the pelvis. The muscles of the uterus is the uterus wall very thick and strong muscles that to keep the fetus. The uterus ended with the part which is called the cervix which leads to the vagina. The embryo is formed inside the uterus for 9 months. احنا كده هنبقى انهينا الجزء بتاع structure of the female reproductive system، وان شاء الله نكمل في حلقات جايه ان شاء الله. شكرا لكم والى اللقاء.